So hello guys, in this video I am going to make a discussion regarding the section number 16, subsection number 2, subsection number C of the CGST Act 2017. So basically there is a recent judgment given by the Tripura High Court with respect to section number 16, subsection number 2, subsection number C. Basically the scenario, what was the issue that was raised by the department. Actually, so basically the issue was raised by the GST department. They were saying that if the supplier has been make a default to make a payment to the government directly, in that case the recipient have to reverse the input tax credit that has been availed on that invoices. For an example, I have been purchased a particular goods. For an example, in that particular scenario, there was a case of rupees 1.11 crore ITC. Department was saying to the recipient that your supplier has been make a failed to make a payment to the government directly. Supplier didn't file a GSTR 1 in that particular period month. At the same time, supplier filed a GSTR 3B nil return. He didn't pay a tax, but actually the recipient has been paid to the paid tax amount, GST amount 1.1 crore rupees to the supplier. But a supplier make a default, supplier make a fraud in this case. But in this case, there was a bona fide purchaser who was the innocent, and he having not any control and having not any mechanism to check to verify whether the supplier has been paid the amount of GST to the government or not, and he has been availed a credit on a self-assessment basis. But unfortunately, after some period of time, after 30th September of 2025, then GST department raised a demand and issued a notice that you have to reverse the ITC or rupees 1.11 crore with respect to all of those invoices that is pertinent to the last year and of with respect to which GST were not paid by your supplier. So is it a default on the part of recipient? No, it's not a default on the part of the recipient. So there was the issue and raised concern, and the appeal was filed in Tripura High Court, and where a chartered accountant on the behalf of the client said that actually sir, there isn't any fraud made by a recipient, because I having a proper e-way bill, I having a proper evidence, I have been maintain a proper documentation with respect to each and every goods that I have been purchased, and I have been paid a amount through a bank of rupees GST to the supplier. So why there is a default on the part of me? When there is a default, I didn't make a default, and I am innocent. I having not any kind of the control to verify whether the payment has been made or not. Irrespective of fact, I have been make a payment, so it is a genuine purchase. If it is a genuine purchase, there is a genuine invoices, genuine e-way bill, documentation, each and everything there was there. So they were saying that I am a genuine because the recipient, my client, is a genuine. He has been able to credit on a genuine invoices. Okay, so why are you saying that you have to reverse the ITC? So it was a concern raised and issue raised by the client in Tripura High Court, and after raising the concern and dispute after hearing the concern of department and recipient, Tripura High Court given a landmark judgment in this scenario. So the landmark judgment given by the Tripura High Court in this scenario, the fact was that, and they held a decision that the ITC is a genuine because the recipient has a proper invoice, having a proper documentation, e-way bill, and each and every documentation have there to avail ITC, and they have been complied each and every condition of section number 16 except section number 16, subsection number 2, subsection number C. And they said that there isn't any mechanism established in the GST Act to ensure or to verify whether the payment has been made by the supplier or not. Okay, there isn't any mechanism, and it is not under the control of bona fide purchaser, bona fide innocent buyer. So how can it be a possible that impossible burden of the ITC you can impose on the part of the recipient just because of the default of the supplier? It is a default of the supplier. It is a fraud given by the supplier. You should not reverse the ITC of the recipient because it is an impossible burden. If he has been paid a GST and he is saying that, for an example, Tripura High Court says that the ITC means what? Why are you giving the ITC? The basic reason just if you are making a tax for supply on that supply, there is just like a refund of the GST, and it is a genuine. If you are doing your own business and in the ordinary course of business, if you are purchasing anything and you have been paid a GST, so it is you are eligible for that ITC. I agree. So the issue was that there was not any kind of the fraud made by the recipient, and they read section number 16 subsection number 2 subsection number 3. They said that section number 16 subsection number 2 subsection number 6c impose only and only when the purchaser or recipient has been make a fraud while making a contract with the supplier. Okay, if we have been making a fraud with respect to that invoices, fake invoices in each and everything, so in that condition you can say that yeah, you have to reverse ITC, but it is not a case of the reverse fraud, and so that's why the ITC should be allowed on the basis of you have been paid, on the basis of documentation, paid amount of GST, and there isn't any control to verify the mechanism. There isn't any control or mechanism to verify the payment has been made or not. So it was the totally concern raised by the recipient, and the case was won by the recipient, and the Tripura High Court judgment says that if there is a fraud that is made by if there is a fraud or default that is made by the supplier on the part of supplier, it should impose obligation and GST, penalty, interest, whatever you want to raise, whatever you want to recover, you can recover only from the supplier. Just because of supplier, you cannot impose an impossible burden of the ITC to the recipient, even if he have been make a payment to the GST. Okay, so it was a simple case scenario. And on the basis of this, department was lose their case, and recipient availed rupees 1.1 crore even after expiry the limit of section 16 subsection 2 subsection 3, that is 30 September. Even after expiring 30 September, he availed that particular ITC. Okay, so thanks for watching this video, and if you want to see this type of case scenario and judgment of the Tripura High Court of different case scenario, so I am highly interested to provide a more literacy, more understandable why there is a provision and why there is a provision, and how we have to interpret the provision at a higher authority level. Okay, so thanks for watching this video.